Welcome back, witches, to Vlogtober day 20. It is a rainy, humid day here. I'm filming this on the morning of the day that you are watching it, and that means that my hair is doing whatever it is that it wants to do today, and there's just no taming it. But I wanted to come on and talk a little bit about the idea of Samhain as the witch's new year. During this Vlogtober so far, I've talked about Halloween and pumpkins and ancestor work, and haven't touched as much on the idea of what it means for this to be the witch's new year. It does not apply for everyone. It's not something that you have to believe. If you feel better about traditional January 1st being your new year, that's fine. That's personally the way that I operate. I like a January 1st fresh start, but in Celtic tradition, it's thought that this signaled the new year. Mabon was Thanksgiving, and then we get into Samhain, and that is the final harvest of the season, and this time of year is all about death and ancestors and the ending of cycles before beginning the cycle of rebirth and return of the sun that comes along with Yule. So it's really completely up to you how you feel about it, how you like to celebrate. If you don't consider this a new year, that's okay too. But if you are seeing this as a time of change before heading into a new cycle, then I wanted to give you some ideas of things that you could be doing right now to usher in that new year. The first, of course, being cleansing and banishing. This is a popular time of year for witches for cleansing rather than spring cleaning. So now instead would be the time where you cleanse out both physically, cleanse out the clutter, and energetically cleanse out your entire space from top to bottom. And in that way, you are clearing out all of the stagnant or negative energies that have held on throughout these past months, and you are pushing them out in order to make way for something new. So banishings are very popular this time of year. So once you cleanse and you can banish whatever it is, if there's something negative that's really holding on, people tend to think of banishing as just like a spirit, a negative entity of some sort that's hanging on, but you can banish anything. You can banish bad habits. You can banish toxic relationships that you need to get rid of, whatever it is that you need to get out of your life. So banish those things and do not take them into this next year. Once you get those things out, like I said, do that full cleansing and make sure that you are starting the new year with a clean slate. And then you're going to want to set up your protections and fill the space with whatever energy you're trying to bring in for the next year. Magic doesn't like a vacuum. Nothing likes a vacuum. So if it's just empty, something is going to come in and fill it. So if you cleared out all of the energy that was previously in your home or attached to your person, it's just sort of an empty vessel now. And if you don't fill it with what you want, then things that you don't want are going to just creep back in. So it's important to protect your space, protect the perimeter, set up doorway protections, windows, the edges of your property. I will probably have more coming up on protection magic during this Vlogtober, and I know I've got it over on Patreon if you are interested. There are a lot of different ways to protect your space. And then you can do a ritual to fill it with what energy that you are looking for. So that could just be a clean and peaceful energy for at home, and it could be related to what you're trying to usher in this new year. So maybe you are setting up your energetic space for motivation to get things done. Maybe it is related to finances, so you're bringing in energy of prosperity and abundance, maybe love or friendship, or maybe any combination of those. The important thing is that you are setting the intention for your space. And speaking of those intentions for the new year, this is a great time for divination. I'm going to have more of that on Sunday, doing various types of divination for this time of year and for this like year ahead idea. But you can't do a year ahead tarot spread. That is where you pull a card for every month from now until next Samhain. So you'd be pulling a card starting with November and going around all the way until next October. And that's just kind of a fun prediction. And of course, the ones in the closer months are going to be more accurate than the ones in the further months, because nothing is set in stone and everything can change based on your actions and reactions to what's happening in your life. You can absolutely change your pattern at any time. So if you see bad stuff on the horizon for April, May, June, you can change what you're doing now to make sure that that does not come to fruition. So it's nice to be able to see that year ahead spread and plan accordingly. And also note that down someplace so you can check in each month or check in next Samhain and see how your predictions went. Which means that it might be the perfect time to start a new grimoire. So I already put up a video about that, starting a new grimoire. That was back in September, but that is here on the channel if you want to go check that out. I know a lot of you enjoyed that video already. So this would be an ideal time because if you are looking at this as the new year, doing a year ahead spread, then this is the perfect time to start a brand new grimoire, and that can be your very first entry in it. That you are starting on Samhain of 2023, and here's your year ahead tarot spread until next year, and here is your dedication to your brand new book. Some other great things that you could do this time of year and include then in your grimoire would first of all be a dedication ceremony. If you're especially feeling like this is a time of change, maybe your path is changing, what you are looking for or doing in life is changing, that could be career, new relationship, whatever it is. If this is marking a time of change for you, then it might also be a good time to do a self-dedication. There are dedication rituals if you are in a coven. I'm sure you're familiar with the Wiccan idea of a year and a day if you're in a Wiccan coven of that study, and then you do a dedication ceremony on the year and a day after you have been studying, and that is just like committing to the practice and the coven. But you can do a self-dedication ceremony that could absolutely look like whatever you want it to. Just a small ritual where you are writing in your grimoire and letting the universe know that this is the path that you are dedicating yourself to, that here's what you're going to be studying coming up. If that is a change from the way that you've been doing it, what's sort of changing, what are the things that you would like to be studying, and just a general dedication. I am dedicated to my practice. I'm looking forward to what is coming up in this whole year, and I am excited to see what the universe has to offer me. It can be very casual. To go along with that, it might also be a great time to choose a witch name. This is completely optional, as is everything here. Do what works for you. But a lot of people do have witch names, and if you follow a lot of different channels or Instagram accounts, you might notice that very few people use their real names on their accounts. I'm an exception because I just feel very bonded with the name Stephanie. I like it. It works well with my last name. I hate my middle name, never use that. But I really enjoy my name, so I haven't used a witch name in my practice. I love how they look and I love what they symbolize and mean for other people, but I just don't have one right now. That's not to say that I've never had one. You can ebb and change. You can use a witchcraft name, you can not, you can change it as the years go on. It's just kind of a fun practice. And some witches really enjoy it because they use that name when they are in a specific spell or ritual space, because it's just an added layer that gets them into the mindset of practicing witchcraft. So you might light candles or play specific music, have a certain incense going, and those things to you signify, okay, universe, I am in this witchy space. I am ready to set these intentions and spells. It's all about scene setting. And witch names can be a big part of that for some people. So when they are doing their spells, signing their spells, they're using that witch name instead, and that really connects them to that aspect of their practice. There's a whole plethora of things to choose from. There is a really great book on witch names. I will link that below. I've recently read that and really enjoyed it. So I think that can be a really helpful resource if you are very interested in this idea, and some people are, and I love that for them. You can tap into things like the names of crystals, specifically ones that are related to your birth month. Maybe you are a water sign, they're water related crystals. You can do herbs, again, anything that is related to your sun sign, or anything that you have a particular affiliation with, that you just love a certain flower, a certain herb, you work with it all the time. Lavender's a popular one. You could do foods, places, gods and goddesses. When you do use deity names, I think it's a good idea to alter them a little bit and maybe also speak to that deity and get a little permission there. Let them know that you mean this in an honoring way and you're hoping that it honors them and you would like to use their name or a little version of their name. I think that's just a polite way of going about things. There really are so many different options that you can pick from, but this would be a good time to set up one, dedicate that as well in your new grimoire, make it part of your self-dedication to your practice this year. If you want to start a brand new Instagram account with that name, you can protect your personal information online. It can just be a lot of fun to have that sort of witchy alter ego. I am not using one right now. Like I said, I have used them in the past. If I was going to use one in this New Year, again, I use January 1st, but if I was going to use one in January 1st, right now I'm super into pop culture witchcraft, so I'd probably pick something from a TV show or movie and take one of those character names or maybe change it around a little bit, because that's just a reflection of what I am doing in my craft right now. And then if I start moving away from that, it would be time for a new witch name. But again, I don't know that I'm going to use one this year. I absolutely do love them though, and I think that people pick out such beautiful options. So if you do have a witch name, let me know in the comments. I always love to see what other people are using. And as far as traditional New Year activities, you can do a lot of the same things that you would do on December 31st. And one of those is goal setting. Some people hate the word resolutions and never make resolutions. I don't ever tend to call them resolutions because there's just something about that word that like makes me feel like I'm going to fail. But I do love goals and I love goal setting. And I specifically like to make goals on whatever time frame I feel works for that goal. It does not necessarily have to be a year. And when we get to December, I will have more videos. Jury's still out on whether I am going to do a December version of this vlogging every day, which would be Vlogmas or Yule something, and post a video every day in December, but I at least will have some videos in December, and one of those will absolutely be going into my personal goal setting and what I'm looking for in the next year. But if you see Samhain as your new year, then this would be your goal setting time. They can be witchcraft goals, absolutely, again, something to include in your grimoire, but they could just be general life goals as well, exactly as you would do on December 31st, but you are just tapping into the energy of October 31st instead. And of course my camera battery died, so I hope that we're at least in close to the same position. I had to change it out. But there is one last thing that I wanted to mention in terms of things that you can do for the new year, either now as Samhain or on December 31st, and that is wishes for the new year. I love wishes for the new year. So something that I like to do is to make wishes related to the 4 elements and then do a little ritual for those 4 wishes. So for this, you need 4 pieces of paper to write those down on. Then you need 4 candles in different colors to represent each of the elements to you. And then someplace to seal up those wishes. So either in little glass jars or in small envelopes, you're gonna stick that paper in there and then use the candle wax to seal it. So whichever works best for you. And then take some time to write out those goals and wishes for the next 12 months and pick out your top 4, and specifically one related to each of the categories that are associated with the 4 elements. The fire element is associated with creativity, so a creative goal. It's also associated with power, so if you have something related to that. Earth is that very stable element. It is associated with finances, so if you do have a financial goal, that's a great category for that. Air is often associated with knowledge. So this could be a very good spot if you have something that you want to dedicate yourself to learn or study about in your witchcraft practice. If you want to read more, I don't necessarily need to read more, but I always set a reading goal, so it's always my air goal. And then finally, water is always related to emotions. So if you have some sort of emotional goal, it also works if you've got a love or friendship goal, a self-love goal, that would be a good place for that. And then you simply light those candles, take some time to think about those goals, gratitude about what you've accomplished in those areas so far, and then write those down on the paper of what you are looking to accomplish and further yourself in those next 12 months. Write those down on those 4 pieces of paper and place them in your envelope or glass jar. And then as those candles burn out and you are thinking about each one and setting your different intentions, use that candle wax to seal those up. And then you will store those someplace until the next Samhain, or if you're doing it on December 31st, until the next new year. Just generally someplace safe. You can keep them out if you want to look at them and be reminded of them, so placing them on your altar, but you can also tuck them away if you are more in the broom closet or just want to hide them out of sight. You're just going to hold on to them for the next 12 months. And then when the next Samhain rolls around, you will burn those as an offering. Hopefully that gave you some ideas of how to celebrate Samhain as the new year instead of just an ancestor remembrance time or a day of spirit work. There are a lot of things that you can do with that new year energy if you choose to celebrate now rather than in December. I sort of do a combination. This is when I start thinking about the goals and wishes for 2024, but then I don't do any spell work or any specific intention setting related activity until the end of December. But this is a good time for me to get those ideas flowing and think about what's going great right now and what I might want to work on a little bit in the coming months. And that is everything for Vlogtober day 20. Be sure to let me know in the comments if you are celebrating Samhain as the new year, if you'll be doing anything, dedication, new grimoire, if you are picking a new witch name or have one. Always love to hear about that. And I will see you tomorrow for Vlogtober day 21. And then on Sunday, like I said, I will have more divination ideas for both Samhain and the idea of a new year. And I will see you then.